When was the last time you truly focused on yourself? Not just a moment to rest. Not just a quick scroll through your phone pretending it counts as downtime, but a real pause. A quiet moment where you asked, "How am I doing? What do I need? Where am I going?" Most people never do. They keep running, giving, surviving, reacting, until one day they can't remember who they are without the noise. But what if your breakthrough isn't out there? What if it's buried within, just waiting for you to return home to yourself? Let this video be that return. We live in a world that rewards performance and punishes stillness. We are praised for being busy, not for being balanced, taught to prioritize others until we're empty, taught to sacrifice our dreams, our health, our joy, just to be accepted, and in the name of being good, we forget to be whole. But today we shift the focus. This is not a guide to selfishness. This is a manifesto for inner alignment, a quiet revolution where you stop surviving for the world and start building for yourself, because the truth is, no matter how much you give, no one else will save you from burnout. No one else will fight for your dream. No one else will build the life you want, unless you start with yourself. In this video, you'll learn how thinking about yourself deeply, daily, unapologetically can become your greatest source of power. We'll explore the art of personal optimization, the science of clarity, the discipline of silence, and the rare wisdom of intentional living. You'll uncover how stillness sharpens your mind, how detachment increases your freedom, and how prioritizing yourself actually deepens your connections. This isn't about cutting others off. It's about remembering where your center is. And from that center, you build a life that feels like yours. You'll hear ideas most people won't tell you. The cost of saying yes too often, the danger of living for likes and praise, the hidden weight of guilt when you choose rest over hustle, and the liberation that comes when you stop explaining yourself and simply become who you are meant to be. There's a reason successful people speak so little about their process. Because real progress doesn't shout, it whispers. It grows slowly in private. It demands silence, solitude, and focus, things the world rarely teaches us to value. But today, we flip the script. By the end of this video, you won't just feel inspired. You'll understand how to protect your energy, how to focus your time, and how to create space for the version of you that's been buried under expectations. This isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you've always been, underneath the noise. You'll learn how to detach from chaos, how to master small disciplines, and how to prioritize peace over pressure. You'll learn to stop proving and start becoming. And most of all, you'll finally give yourself permission to be the main character of your own life. This isn't another motivational speech. This is a quiet wake-up call. If you've ever felt invisible while giving everything, if you've ever felt drained while pretending to be okay, if you've ever wondered what life would look like if you built it around your truth, this is your sign to start. Welcome to Narrative Society, a place where you rewrite your story silently, powerfully, and without apology. Subscribe now. Your journey back to yourself starts here. Before we talk about success, relationships, or giving back to the world, we have to start with one question. Are you even giving to yourself? It's easy to believe that thinking about yourself is selfish, that focusing on your own needs is some kind of moral failure. From a young age, most of us are trained to put others first: family, friends, partners, co-workers, even strangers. We are taught that being good means being available, agreeable, and self-sacrificing. But what if that teaching is incomplete? What if the very act of neglecting yourself is the reason why so many people feel lost, resentful, and burned out? The truth is, constantly pouring from an empty cup doesn't make you generous, it makes you exhausted. People who always say yes eventually collapse. People who never draw boundaries eventually break. That's not nobility, that's erosion. Thinking about yourself isn't selfish, it's essential. When you choose to prioritize your emotional well-being, you begin to operate from a place of wholeness, not survival. And when you are whole, your presence helps others rise. You listen better. You love clearer. You respond with patience. You give from strength, not guilt. But society doesn't always reward that. It praises the person who works late, sacrifices sleep, says yes to every favor, shows up for everyone. It rarely praises the one who pauses, says no, takes a day off, protects their peace, because quiet strength doesn't look dramatic from the outside, but inside, it's the foundation of everything stable. You can't be a stable partner if you are emotionally drained. You can't be a present parent if you're mentally scattered. You can't lead a team or nurture a dream if your internal world is on fire. The guilt around self-focus is powerful. It whispers that you're being distant, cold, uncaring. But ask yourself what's more damaging, taking time to recharge or pretending to function while you're falling apart. Emotional health isn't a luxury. It's not a hobby. It's survival. And part of emotional health is learning to ask, what do I need right now? What am I feeling? What's mine to carry? And what is? These are not selfish questions. These are the questions that build boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are doors with locks. They let the right energy in and keep the wrong energy out. They allow you to show up fully when it matters and step back when it doesn't. Boundaries protect your time, your energy, and your peace. And without them, everything good gets diluted. When you don't protect your space, you invite chaos. When you don't protect your time, you lose direction. When you don't protect your emotions, you become reactive instead of intentional. The people who love you benefit when you are centered. Your work improves. Your conversations deepen. Your choices become aligned. Self-focus creates clarity, and clarity multiplies your ability to serve others in meaningful ways. But clarity requires silence, space, honesty. It requires turning inward when the world tells you to keep looking out. It requires trusting that you are worth your own attention. No one questions when you maintain your car, charge your phone, or update your software. But when you say, I need a break, I need therapy, I need time alone, the world gets uncomfortable. And that's where the myth begins to crack. This is your life, your mind, your soul. You are the only one who can tend to it. If you don't think about yourself, who will? If you don't pause to heal, who suffers? Not just you, but everyone you're connected to. Burnout doesn't just affect you, it bleeds into your words, your mood, your decisions, and the longer you ignore your inner world, the more unstable your outer world becomes. There is power in choosing yourself, not to the exclusion of others, but as the foundation for everything you give. You cannot be present in the world while absent within yourself. And yet that's what many try to do. They show up for meetings, dinners, deadlines, while secretly aching for silence. You don't need to wait for a breakdown to start caring for yourself. You don't need to hit rock bottom to say, something has to change. You are allowed to protect your energy. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to feel what you feel without apologizing for it. Taking care of your mind is not weakness. It is preparation. Tuning into your heart is not indulgence. It is strategy. Thinking about yourself is not selfish. It is survival. There will always be people who don't understand, who expect more, faster, louder. But the more you understand yourself, the less you need to be understood by others. That's freedom. That's peace. That's power. And that power grows quietly every time you say no to something that drains you. Every time you walk away from chaos. Every time you choose a walk instead of an argument, a book instead of a scroll, stillness instead of noise. Thinking about yourself is the beginning of transformation. It's the return to center. It's the shift from reacting to designing, from surviving to creating. And once you make that shift, the world begins to respond differently. Not because the world changed, but because you did. Give yourself permission. Not because you've earned it, but because you were always allowed. Think about yourself, not once in a while, not just on your birthday, not just when you crash, but daily, quietly, boldly. You are the most consistent companion in your life. Be a kind one. Be a wise one. Be one who listens, because when you get that part right, everything else starts to align. When we talk about success, relationships, or giving back to the world, we have to start with one question. Are you even giving to yourself? It's easy to believe that thinking about yourself is selfish, that focusing on your own needs is some kind of moral failure. From a young age, most of us are trained to put others first: family, friends, partners, coworkers, even strangers. We are taught that being good means being available, agreeable, and self-sacrificing. But what if that teaching is incomplete? What if the very act of neglecting yourself is the reason why so many people feel lost, resentful, and burned out? The truth is, constantly pouring from an empty cup doesn't make you generous. It makes you exhausted. People who always say yes eventually collapse. People who never draw boundaries eventually break. That's not nobility, that's erosion. Thinking about yourself isn't selfish, it's essential. When you choose to prioritize your emotional well-being, you begin to operate from a place of wholeness, not survival. And when you are whole, your presence helps others rise. You listen better, you love clearer, you respond with patience, you give from strength, not guilt. But society doesn't always reward that. It praises the person who works late, sacrifices sleep, says yes to every favor, shows up for everyone. It rarely praises the one who pauses, says no, takes a day off, protects their peace, because quiet strength doesn't look dramatic from the outside, but inside, it's the foundation of everything stable. You can't be a stable partner if you are emotionally drained. You can't be a present parent if you're mentally scattered. You can't lead a team or nurture a dream if your internal world is on fire. The guilt around self-focus is powerful. It whispers that you're being distant, cold, uncaring. But ask yourself, what's more damaging? Taking time to recharge or pretending to function while you're falling apart? Emotional health isn't a luxury, it's not a hobby, it's survival. And part of emotional health is learning to ask, what do I need right now? What am I feeling? What's mine to carry? And what is? These are not selfish questions. These are the questions that build boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They are doors with locks. They let the right energy in and keep the wrong energy out. They allow you to show up fully when it matters and step back when it doesn't. Boundaries protect your time, your energy, and your peace. And without them, everything good gets diluted. When you don't protect your space, you invite chaos. When you don't protect your time, you lose direction. When you don't protect your emotions, you become reactive instead of intentional. The people who love you benefit when you are centered. Your work improves. Your conversations deepen. Your choices become aligned. Self-focus creates clarity, and clarity multiplies your ability to serve others in meaningful ways. But clarity requires silence, space, honesty. It requires turning inward when the world tells you to keep looking out. It requires trusting that you are worth your own attention. No one questions when you maintain your car, charge your phone, or update your software. But when you say, I need a break, I need therapy, I need time alone, the world gets uncomfortable. And that's where the myth begins to crack. This is your life, your mind, your soul. You are the only one who can tend to it. If you don't think about yourself, who will? If you don't pause to heal, who suffers? Not just you, but everyone you're connected to. Burnout doesn't just affect you, it bleeds into your words, your mood, your decisions, and the longer you ignore your inner world, the more unstable your outer world becomes. There is power in choosing yourself, not to the exclusion of others, but as the foundation for everything you give. You cannot be present in the world while absent within yourself. And yet that's what many try to do. They show up for meetings, dinners, deadlines, while secretly aching for silence. You don't need to wait for a breakdown to start caring for yourself. You don't need to hit rock bottom to say something has to change. You are allowed to protect your energy. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to feel what you feel without apologizing for it. Taking care of your mind is not weakness. It is preparation. Tuning into your heart is not indulgence. It is strategy. Thinking about yourself is not selfish. It is survival. There will always be people who don't understand, who expect more, faster, louder. But the more you understand yourself, the less you need to be understood by others. That's freedom. That's peace. That's power. And that power grows quietly every time you say no to something that drains you, every time you walk away from chaos, every time you choose a walk instead of an argument, a book instead of a scroll, stillness instead of noise. Thinking about yourself is the beginning of transformation. It's the return to center. It's the shift from reacting to designing, from surviving to creating. And once you make that shift, the world begins to respond differently, not because the world changed, but because you did. Give yourself permission, not because you've earned it, but because you were always allowed. Think about yourself. Not once in a while, not just on your birthday, not just when you crash, but daily, quietly, boldly. You are the most consistent companion in your life. Be a kind one. Be a wise one. Be one who listens. Because when you get that part right, everything else starts to align. There's a voice that lives inside you. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it screams. It questions your choices, judges your failures, predicts your downfall before you've even taken the first step. That voice is not the enemy, but it isn't always your friend either. That voice, your inner critic, has been shaped by years of external influence. Teachers, parents, peers, social media. Each opinion layered itself inside your head until you started confusing their voices with your own. And now, when you sit in silence, it's not always peace you find. It's noise disguised as thought. The inner critic speaks in absolutes. You're not good enough. You always mess things up. You'll never be ready. It sees the worst-case scenario and calls it realism. It thinks it's protecting you from failure, but in truth, it's shielding you from growth. But there's another voice inside. quieter, wiser, not rooted in fear, but in understanding. This is the inner guide. It doesn't shout, it waits for silence. It doesn't mock, it observes. It doesn't discourage, it invites. The inner guide isn't concerned with how things look. It asks how they feel. It nudges you toward alignment. To listen to it, you have to tune out the static. You have to spend time with yourself, not scrolling, not distracting, but simply being. You begin to notice your patterns. Why certain environments drain you, why certain people energize you, why your energy dips after specific thoughts. This noticing is the foundation of self-mastery. Mental clarity is not a luxury. It is the beginning of personal optimization. You cannot organize your external life while your internal world is in chaos. A clear mind gives birth to focused intention, and intention is what separates movement from progress. But clarity requires effort, and effort doesn't mean intensity. It means consistency. Small, conscious choices that slowly untangle your inner world. Start with journaling. Not to write something beautiful, not to impress or publish, just to witness yourself. Write without editing. Let the words pour out. Rage, confusion, hope, memory, dreams. Let them all spill. The page holds without judgment. And in that process, you begin to recognize patterns. Patterns become insight. Insight becomes change. Meditation is not the art of becoming empty. It is the practice of becoming present. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. And when you watch them long enough, they lose their power. They become clouds passing in a vast sky, not truths etched in stone. 5 minutes. 10. Sit with your breath. No need to force stillness. Just return to it when you wander, and in that returning, something shifts. A layer peels. A glimpse of peace emerges. Digital detox is a rebellion against mental clutter. The constant stream of opinions, updates, arguments, news, none of it was meant to be consumed at this speed. Information overload dulls intuition. You forget how to be with yourself when you're constantly plugged into someone else's thoughts. Turn the phone off for an hour. Leave it in another room. Notice the impulse to check. That impulse is not need. It's habit. And habits can be unlearned. Your breath is the original anchor. It's always with you, yet always taken for granted. Deep breathing isn't just calming, it's reprogramming. It tells your body you're safe, and safety is where clarity begins. Try box breathing. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold again. Repeat. Simple, profound, accessible, anytime. Solitude is not loneliness. It is communion with the self. It's where the inner guide has room to speak. When the world goes quiet, your truth becomes louder. Solitude teaches you what you truly want when no one else is watching, when no one else is asking. It strips away the performance. It leaves you with what's real. Silence is a teacher that speaks in feeling. The more you allow it, the clearer your thoughts become. Clarity is not having all the answers. It's knowing which questions matter. It's recognizing what is yours to solve and what isn't. With clarity comes alignment. You stop chasing every path and start walking your own. You stop living reactively and begin living intentionally. You no longer ask, what do they want from me? You start asking, what feels right for me? And that's when the transformation begins. Not in some dramatic epiphany, but in the subtle shift of attention. When you begin to choose peace over noise, stillness over chaos, truth over approval, presence over performance. Mental clarity isn't a finish line, it's a practice. Each day you wake up, you begin again. Some days it's clouded, some days it's sharp. But the more you show up for yourself, the stronger your inner guide becomes, and the weaker your inner critic grows. You can't control every thought, but you can choose which ones you listen to. You can't eliminate every fear, but you can stop feeding it. You can't predict every outcome, but you can walk forward with clarity. That's the power of understanding your inner voice. That's the path to true personal optimization. When you align with that inner truth, the world begins to make more sense. Not because the world changed, but because you're finally hearing the only voice that ever truly mattered, your own. Saying no doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear. Not every invitation deserves your time. Not every request requires your effort. Not every expectation needs to be met. There's a strength in choosing yourself even when it disappoints someone else. People might call it selfishness, but that's just a label used by those who benefit from your lack of boundaries. Saying no is not rejection. It is redirection. It is choosing your path over their pressure, and that choice, though uncomfortable at first, is how you reclaim your time and your energy. You are not here to live everyone's version of your life. You are not a reservoir for endless demands. You are a human being with limits. Limits are not flaws. They are signals of self-respect. Saying yes when you mean no creates resentment. Saying no with honesty creates freedom. And that freedom becomes the soil where your real self can grow. It's not about being rigid or harsh. It's about being honest. Your time is your currency. Your energy is your wealth. Spend them wisely or watch them disappear. You're not meant to be everything to everyone. You're meant to be whole within yourself. Learning to say no starts with understanding your worth. You are not obligated to explain your boundaries. You don't owe anyone a detailed defense for choosing peace. The truth is, people respect what you protect, and those who don't never valued you without conditions. Boundaries are not walls. They are doors. They filter what you allow into your space, not out of fear, but out of clarity. Self-respect is quiet. It doesn't argue. It simply decides. It doesn't need applause. It only needs awareness. Each time you say no to something misaligned, you say yes to something essential. You honor your schedule. You guard your mental clarity. You protect your emotional health. That is not weakness. That is wisdom. A wise person does not stretch themselves thin just to appear kind. They honor kindness with truth, because real kindness includes you too. Saying no is a muscle. It grows stronger the more you use it. At first, guilt might whisper in your ear. They'll think you're rude. They'll feel hurt. But over time, you'll hear another voice. One that says, you are not responsible for their emotions. You are responsible for your own alignment. That's the voice you strengthen each time you set a limit, and that voice leads to peace. There's also power in not needing anyone else to tell you that you're enough. Depending on others for validation is a prison wrapped in praise. The moment they withdraw it, your confidence collapses. But when you build your self-worth from the inside, praise becomes a bonus, not a necessity. Self-reliance is not isolation. It is inner stability. It is knowing that no matter who comes or goes, you won't lose yourself. A life rooted in self-reliance is a life of quiet power. You stop chasing approval. You start building integrity. You begin to shape habits that nourish you, not for the spotlight, not for validation, but because it's who you've decided to become. Discipline isn't punishment, it's devotion. Waking up early, eating well, reading, reflecting, protecting your sleep, limiting distractions. These aren't trendy habits, they are acts of self-respect. Every small decision adds up to the life you live. Every skipped temptation builds mental strength. In a world obsessed with outcomes, self-discipline is about consistency, the kind no one claps for, the kind that happens in silence, the kind that builds character. You may not see results immediately, but your future self will thank you for every choice you made today that was rooted in clarity rather than comfort. You don't need a massive transformation overnight. You need a quiet promise to yourself that you'll show up again and again, even when no one's watching. The most peaceful life is not the loudest. It's the one most aligned with your truth. It's filled with fewer distractions, clearer values, and stronger boundaries. You don't need to announce your changes. Let your peace speak for itself. Let your habits reflect your growth. Let your presence carry the weight of your transformation. Learning to say no is not just about boundaries, it's about belief, believing that your time matters, believing that your dreams are worth protecting, believing that you don't need to exhaust yourself to be worthy of love or respect. You are already worthy, and every time you say no to what drains you, you say yes to what builds you. That yes echoes in your routines, your mindset, your energy. When you stop depending on outside voices to define your value, you start building a life that's inwardly rich. You begin to notice what really matters: quiet mornings, clear thoughts, a heart that doesn't race from stress, a calendar that isn't overflowing, a home that feels calm, a body that feels energized, a soul that feels grounded. External success fades if it's not backed by internal strength. You can impress the world and still feel empty, or you can nurture your spirit, master your habits, and feel whole, even in solitude. Your deepest peace comes when you stop needing constant reassurance. It comes when you learn to trust yourself. When you stop explaining your no. When you start building your yes with intention. That's the power of quiet self-reliance. It doesn't need to convince anyone. It just moves in silence, builds in silence, transforms in silence, and one day the results speak so loudly that no explanation is necessary. That is the life you're capable of. One built not on approval, but on truth, not on noise, but on purpose. And it starts with one small, sacred word: no. Focus isn't just a skill, it's a strategy. When your attention is fractured, your progress is delayed. Every time your energy is pulled in 10 directions, your results fade into the noise. But when your focus sharpens, everything accelerates. Momentum doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing fewer things better. It begins when you stop chasing every distraction and start choosing clarity. When the noise outside dims and the mind steadies, movement becomes power. People underestimate the force of deep work, not shallow multitasking, not checking messages while thinking of to-do lists. Real focus, uninterrupted, immersive, deliberate effort is rare, but that rarity is where transformation happens. When you enter that space of full presence, time expands. What normally takes hours gets done in minutes. Insight deepens. Precision sharpens. You're not just completing tasks, you're creating impact. Intentional living is a mindset. It's designing your days with purpose. It's knowing why you wake up, what you're building, and who you're becoming. It's choosing your input as carefully as your output. The shows you watch, the people you follow, the conversations you entertain, they either sharpen or scatter your energy. Nothing is neutral. Every influence either fuels your mission or drains your focus. High performers aren't superhuman. They're selective. They use solitude as their sanctuary. While the world celebrates noise, they retreat to silence. In that stillness, they recalibrate. They map strategy. They build foundations. They don't crave constant feedback. They let their craft speak. The greatest work isn't done in front of crowds. It's done in rooms no one sees. The hours when no one's watching, the sessions no one praises. That's where mastery is forged. Focus is protection. It shields your time from urgency. It guards your mind from chaos. It builds a tunnel between where you are and where you're meant to go. Each day you stay focused is a step forward, even if small, even if slow. Momentum compounds. The first day feels hard, the second, uncertain. But somewhere in the repetition, rhythm is born, and rhythm becomes progress. The myth is that success is loud, that you must constantly promote your grind, that your wins must be public. But the truth is simpler. Real growth happens underground. Roots stretch long before branches rise. The process is silent, but the outcome isn't. Those who move in silence are not hiding. They're planting, watering, preparing. Because when the harvest comes, no announcement is needed. The results speak. There's something powerful about being underestimated, about working quietly while others perform loudly. Silence becomes your armor. You're not distracted by competition. You're building quietly, staying close to purpose. The need for external validation fades. Approval loses its grip. Your progress becomes sacred, private, yours. Momentum is sustained in stillness. It's not about hype or constant movement. It's about alignment. Are your actions moving you closer to your goals? Are your habits sharpening your edge? Are your thoughts building resilience or anxiety? Focus answers these questions. It clears the fog. It centers your energy. Most people don't lose because they lack ambition. They lose because they leak energy. Scrolling for hours, saying yes to everything, multitasking, chasing approval, these are the silent killers of momentum. Focus is the antidote. It's radical presence in a distracted world. It's saying no so you can say yes to the right things. It's cutting noise so your voice can rise. There is elegance in a focused life. You walk with clarity. You act with conviction. You rest without guilt. There's less clutter, more purpose, and people feel it even when you don't say a word. Your consistency becomes your signal, your progress, your reply. You don't need to explain where you've been. Your presence carries the proof. Silence isn't emptiness. It's power in reserve. It's observing more than reacting, listening more than speaking, acting more than announcing. Those who are loud early often fade fast. Those who stay quiet early often rise without warning. Not because they're lucky, but because they stayed focused long after others got distracted. Discipline in focus is what separates dreamers from doers. It's waking up with a plan and protecting that plan. It's resisting temptation, not because it's wrong, but because it's irrelevant. It's the courage to be misunderstood, to be absent from trends, to miss out on distractions that don't align with your deeper goals. You're not falling behind. You're building a foundation others won't see until it's too strong to ignore. People often quit not because they're incapable, but because they keep starting over. Focus builds what you don't have. To restart, it creates depth. It removes the shallow rush of novelty. It teaches you the beauty of mastery, of knowing one thing so well that it becomes art. Focus is not about limitation. It's about liberation from chaos, from confusion, from comparison. When you focus, you honor your journey. You stop measuring against someone else's timeline. You find your rhythm, your pace, your truth, and in that place, momentum grows. Quiet at first, but undeniable in time. You don't need to post every move. You don't need to explain your process. You just need to trust it. Because while others are distracted by applause, you're chasing mastery. That's how momentum is built, not through noise, but through clarity, not through validation, but through vision. You don't need a crowd to become great. You need focus. You need the willingness to disappear into your work, to get lost in repetition, to become so aligned with your craft that even silence feels loud. The journey is long, but those who stay focused shorten the distance, because while others stop and start, you keep going. You show up. You refine. You build. Every single day. Quietly, relentlessly, with purpose. And when it's time, your results will enter the room long before you do. That's the power of focused momentum. That's the strength of silence. Step into the spotlight of your own existence. The world often encourages playing a supporting role, fading into the background of someone else's plot. Yet the truth is, you hold the pen to your own story. Every choice, every thought, and every action crafts the narrative that defines you. Being the main character means embracing responsibility for your journey, refusing to settle for the sidelines. It means stepping out from the shadows of others' expectations and stepping into the fullness of your own potential. Living as a side character is easy because it allows for passivity. It means letting others shape your reality, letting their fears, doubts, and limitations become yours. But your story deserves to be told on your terms, shaped by your values, dreams, and vision. To claim the lead role, you must first take ownership of the narrative that you tell yourself, the beliefs you hold about who you are and what you can become. Beliefs are the silent architects of your reality. They build the framework through which you view the world and yourself. Rewrite the scripts that no longer serve you. Dismantle the stories born from past failures, inherited doubts, or limiting cultural expectations. Replace them with narratives of strength, possibility, and growth. Affirmations are not empty words. They are declarations of intent, invitations for transformation. Speak to yourself with the same kindness and conviction you would offer to a hero in a story you deeply care about. Acting in alignment with your future self daily means more than mere daydreaming or wishful thinking. It requires conscious decisions that reflect the qualities, habits, and mindset of the person you aim to become. This future self is not some distant ideal, but a present possibility, waiting to be realized through your consistent actions. When you choose courage over comfort, discipline over distraction, and authenticity over conformity, you're writing chapters filled with purpose and meaning. Every moment offers a choice. Will you retreat into old patterns of complacency, or will you move forward with intention? The main character faces challenges with resilience, because obstacles are integral to any compelling narrative. Growth does not happen in the absence of struggle, but through it. Embracing your struggles as part of the plot enriches your story, making your triumphs all the more vivid and rewarding. Rewrite your internal dialogue with the understanding that you are the protagonist of a story still unfolding. Each day, ask yourself, what would my future self do in this situation? How would they handle this challenge or opportunity? These questions shift your mindset from reaction to creation, from victimhood to agency. They invite you to embody the qualities you admire and aspire to, bringing your vision into the tangible present. The courage to own your story lies in vulnerability. It means acknowledging your imperfections and fears without letting them dictate the script. The main character is not flawless, but fiercely authentic. They embrace their humanity, learning from mistakes rather than being defined by them. This kind of ownership is liberating, freeing you from the shackles of blame and self-judgment. Rewrite the beliefs that chain you to past narratives. If you once believed you were not enough, challenge that with stories of your resilience and growth. If you thought success was reserved for others, create a new belief in your deservingness and capability. These rewrites become the foundation for a narrative that propels you forward instead of holding you back. Align your daily actions with this new story. Small habits become powerful tools when consistent. The main character doesn't wait for grand events to take charge. They show up in everyday moments. Choosing to respond with patience, kindness, or focus might seem insignificant in isolation, but these moments accumulate into a legacy of character and strength. Acting as the lead means prioritizing your dreams and values, even when distractions and doubts arise. It means creating boundaries that protect your narrative from being hijacked by external pressures. Saying no to what doesn't serve your growth is as important as saying yes to your vision. Each boundary set is a declaration that your story matters. The future self you align with is a guide, a vision of possibility that grounds you in purpose. This self is not static, but evolves as you evolve. The main character embraces change as a vital part of growth, understanding that rewrites are not failures, but new chapters. Flexibility in your narrative allows you to adapt without losing sight of your core values. Choosing to be the main character means embracing agency over passivity. It means realizing that while you cannot control every event, you control your response, your mindset, and your narrative. This power is transformative, shifting you from a bystander in life to an active creator. It's a daily commitment to show up fully with intention and courage. Rewrite the scenes where you have doubted yourself or felt invisible. Imagine them instead as moments of breakthrough and discovery. Every setback is a setup for a comeback. Every silence a space waiting to be filled with your voice. Your story is worthy of being told with passion and authenticity. Your narrative is unique. No one else can play your role with the same depth and nuance. Own your history, your dreams, and the complexities that make you who you are. The main character is not defined by perfection, but by the relentless pursuit of their truth. Living this truth daily transforms mundane moments into meaningful experiences. Act in ways that honor your future self's wisdom. When faced with fear, act with courage. When overwhelmed, act with calm. When uncertain, act with faith in your capacity to learn and grow. These choices shape the trajectory of your story, steering it towards a fulfilling and empowered life. Being the main character means embracing your story as an ongoing creation, open to revision and renewal. It means never settling for the background role because your life's plot deserves prominence. Step forward, claim your voice, and live boldly as the protagonist of your own remarkable journey. True success and freedom begin with turning your focus inward. When you prioritize yourself, your growth, your mindset, your story, you build the foundation for lasting change. Inner peace isn't something that just happens. It's something you create moment by moment, through intention and commitment. Start showing up for yourself today. Choose to be the main character in your life story and watch how everything else begins to shift. If you found this message helpful, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more inspiration and guidance. on owning your journey.